Before beginning, three things. Number one, I'm recording this on the fly. It's an impromptu video, so I'm recording this on my cell phone. If you notice any sound irregularities, I apologize for that. Typically, I don't record this way. Number two, if you like this kind of content, if you enjoy this channel, make sure you're subbed to it and check out the links in the description. They definitely help out. And number three here, I will be using a lot of static picture, and the reason for that is because I'm talking about not only a suspension here, but I'm talking about the atmosphere that leads to this. I'm talking about why this transpires and really, how you can go out and how you can combat this, because ultimately this is not a good faith conversation. The stuff that you end up tripping into, especially on platforms like Twitter, don't think that when you're going out and you're exchanging dialogue that people are going to treat that in good faith. So hey there, so today I want to return to that wonderful world of social media to showcase how REKIETA has been suspended yet again. Now you know that LOL Twitter is actually to blame for this because those folks, they go out and 24/7 try to get REKIETA to comment on something. They go out and they hope that he'll actually have some type of exchange, not because they'll get clout for it, but because at the end of the day, they may actually be able to silence him. Now that is a warning to people. If you think that you're having a good faith exchange, well, I'll tell you some of the stuff that'll get you suspended off Twitter in just a minute, and some of that might actually surprise you. Before that, however, let me say that if you want to continue following updates about REKIETA Law, well, you can follow his intern. His intern is at Law Archive. He actually talked about her being live before, and she hasn't done any updates that I know of in a little while. I actually have not paid attention to that in a little while, much, to my chagrin when I think about it. But, when you go in, check that out. Again, at Law Twitter. If you think, however, that you're going to have exchanges that are in good faith on Twitter, here's a few things to keep in mind. Did you know that harassing somebody can mean tagging them in to 5 different conversations? That means literally exchanging comments with them, even if they're pleasantries, 5 times. If they can find something in that, or they can find somebody that's sympathetic in review, they can get you knocked off Twitter simply for that, for 5 exchanges. See, that is considered harassment on the platform. You can report up to 5 things, and if you report them, what it does when it's reported is it looks for how many times you've tagged them into a conversation. So just being able to exchange there, that gives them the ability to go and do that. The reason that I note that is because a lot of people will get blocked by somebody. They'll get block-botted or they'll be blocked. And what I mean by block-botted is, say you follow me on Twitter, say you followed Nick here. They'll go in, they'll want to not only knock him offline, but they'll want to knock off anybody else that had the audacity to disagree with him and follow REKIETA. So what they'll do is they'll go out and they'll make some kind of preposterous statement. After they do that, they'll wait for comments to come in. And if they get into an argument with someone, well, then they'll start reporting away. Even what you think may be a good faith conversation may actually be somebody trying to knock you offline there. So the first thing to note when somebody goes out and they block you off of these platforms, hey, the best thing to do is not to utilize these platforms, because engagement on them, it's been turned into something that's a farce. But say you go out and you do utilize them, somebody blocks you, you need to block them as well. You can go into their settings, and if you notice that they have blocked you, you got to block them as well, because they can sit behind that and still report you. That's a ridiculous thing. Oh my gosh, I can still see everything they do. I can cherry pick their conversation, and I can knock them offline. Even again, if you're having good faith discussions, if you go and you retweet them or you talk about something, as long as it tags them into a conversation, they can knock you offline for that. A lot of people don't understand understand that. And they'll go in and they'll try to cherry pick what people say in order to get other people to mass report. That's one of the flaws in the features as well. You can go in and oftentimes knock somebody off lines simply because you can get enough people to try to report them. Now, that doesn't always work, but it does work in some situations. I imagine, for example, REKIETA the other day, he said the horrible stuff about someone. He called them, listen to this, I'll have to spell it out because it's so terrible. F-A-T. Oh, I caught you with that last letter, right? F-A-T. That's right. Calling someone fat might get you suspended off that because, dun dun dun, body shaming. Calling someone other words too. I noticed him call someone a C to the U to the C to the K. Now, it's amazing that you can use that in articles. You know, people can talk about lifestyle. But if you call somebody that, oh my God, that's a bridge too far. So again, there's yet another thing that could get you suspended. Now, all of this stuff there, comes with the backdrop of Twitter itself. And if you haven't utilized Twitter before, well, it's like imagine the people with social justice that talk to you anyhow. People that use ist and phobe all the time. When you buy into a conversation, you're probably going to be called a racist or a sexist, and probably multiple times. You're already going to be disparaged for that simply because you don't walk lockstep. That is telling enough. The platform doesn't see that as a problem because, hey, you can go out and you can put that out as an observation, I suppose. And particularly if you aim it at specific people out there. There are even people that will manage to get you suspended with those observations because, again, they go in, it's harassment as well to consider somebody for mass flagging, to say, hey, I need to go get this person knocked off because, but some people can get away with that. And they get away with it for those qualifiers. Now, those qualifiers and the phobics, you're a transphobe or you're phobic for other reasons, those things have morphed into other language. You look at other things that these platforms have allowed. There's a certain four-letter word that turned into another four-letter word. Let me spell this first one out for you. N to the A to the Z to the I. That is not an observation, but the platform treats it like it's an observation. So you could go out in the past and call somebody that, or call somebody an alt-riker, or, some kind of supremacist to go with that, and that not be a problem. It's amazing how you go out and you utilize language that's meant to damage and defame. That's not a problem. But again, F to the A to the T, that's a problem on that platform. Now, when you look at that too, what's really telling about, say, the N word, that's the progressive N word. Well, when you look at that word, that is meant to cause harm, not just to disparage, but to tell other people that this is somebody that you can go out and hurt, because of puncha. You've heard that, I'm sure. That has morphed into yet something else that is even more damaging. There's a new four-letter word. I'm sure you've heard it utilized quite a bit lately. P to the E to the D to the O. That stuff, again, that is probably one of the most damaging labels out there, because if you can get that to stick to somebody, you can destroy their lives. Si Vic Mignogna, and yet the platform allows it. But the platform doesn't allow all of those mean body insults, or those mean insults that, again, if you were talking about lifestyle, would be totally okay. But in a conversation, with, say, a Nick REKIETA, yeah, not so much. Now, what's the point in all of this to bring it up? Again, that's to tell you, don't think that you're having good faith arguments with people. Don't think that these people in their exchanges, they can't get you knocked offline. What I do a lot of times is simply take snapshots of something. you see this is actually part of a post. And again, I'm not worried about a Nick REKIETA getting me knocked off, but I won't use certain people's names, or when I utilize their names, I will only utilize the end. So if I'm talking about a certain drive-by lawyer, I'll talk about do shit. I won't actually talk about his whole name. That's one way to get around that. You actually have to adapt to the language or the use of these platforms. And it's ridiculous. But again, what's the point in using them in the first place? You know, for myself, I try to go out and to talk to people to tell them what's going on, just like I do with YouTube. But if people are going on to talk to other people, again, it's not just good faith conversation, but you're probably not going to change a lot of crazy people's minds. I mean, have you ever gone out and dealt with mental illness? Have you ever seen people that are willing to go and adopt a cult-like mentality? If you have, you'll see the problem with trying to change their mindset, because those people, they will never listen to reason. So again, the whole point in all of this was not just to tell you that Nick REKIETA had been suspended, but also to tell you to watch yourself out there. There are a lot of people that are surprised by this stuff. I mean, you can see all of the comments, and yes, he will probably be back. I agree with that. You know, when you see this, I mean, you see people that will mass report anything, and as you go out and you drop decorum, you know what type of people you're dealing with, that's when it gets worse. I mean, definitely that's when it gets worse. But kudos to all the people out there. I think that, you know, he's still on Gab. Like I said, follow his intern out there. Again, I hope that this helps in some way if you're going to still haunt those setups. As I've said in many videos too, if you like this type of content, make sure you're following this channel. This platform has loved scrubbing people off of it. So yes, definitely go and follow those bad guys out there. If you want to go further than that, check out the links in the description. We have our comic book there, and it definitely does help out. So check that out too. Ending this, I want to thank you for your time here. You know, I know that this is a weird way of putting this together. I have to make this without the convenience of my computer. So when I'm making it, I appreciate you hanging in there. And again, I like to have conversations like this to talk about what goes on. It's not necessarily just to bring up one idea or one shot. It's to talk about the atmosphere and what's going on. But anyhow, we'll probably have more videos later. So thank you.